right, let's kick it off. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the second annual International MLS Forum. My name is Joe Schneider. I have the immense pleasure of being one of your hosts for this great event here. We have a fantastic agenda planned with incredible speakers, all focused on three specific goals: increase consumer transparency, spur more broker-to-broker collaboration, and create a data-rich environment where PropTech innovation can thrive. At the inaugural event last year in Paris, we set a very basic goal: to start the conversation and highlight the importance and opportunities ahead of us when we focus on adopting a clear and coherent real estate data standard. Although confident with the initial conference, we wondered what themes would actually stick. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. This year here, we're very proud to say that we've doubled both the amount of attendees here and the number of countries represented. So we have over 200 attendees and 51 countries here in this room. That is a great feat. Yeah, round of applause, please. Thank you to you all. So as we sit through the next 2 days and hear from our great panelists and our great speakers, I have one request. This is something I've been doing for a long time, and I've been in these rooms where you can only look at your market through the lens that you currently look through it in. Let go of your preconceived notions of how your market works today and truly listen to the panels and the themes that they're trying to touch on, and then imagine what those would look like adopted and brought into your market. Keep an open mind. So with that, let's jump into the program. An event like this is not possible without the generous support of our sponsors, and we would be remiss to not acknowledge them. So a huge thank you to Universal Consulting Opportunities, a subsidiary of Stellar MLS, Remax Best Mongolia, Dot Realtor and Dot Real Estate, CoreLogic, Toronto Real Estate Board, Unlock MLS, FMLS, Legends International Team at eXp Realty, Supra, the European Association of Home Staging Professionals, ModernTech, Vesta Plus, Association of Real Estate License Law Officials, PropTechs, Igloo, Ocusell, Contract to Close, and really the last one, Realtina. None of this would be possible without them. So Ali and Realtina, thank you so much. This is a great event as always. And I also want to extend a very big thank you to our media sponsors, PropTech Buzz and RE Technology. And then also a very big, and this is a vital component of this conference here, our industry partners. So the Council of Multiple Listing Services, the National Association of Realtors, and FIABCI. And lastly, to our conference organizers. You guys really drive home the value of this conference, the European Association of Real Estate Professionals, or CEPI, and the Real Estate Standards Organization, or RESO. Let's give a big round of applause to all of our sponsors, partners, and organizers. We're going to dive into the program really quick here, but before we do that, we're introducing a really cool way to kind of engage with all of our panels here. So on the screen, you're going to see a QR code here. This is not a QR code that goes to a website. This goes to an actual LinkedIn post with that specific panel. All of the panelists are tagged in that, so you're able to interact with them live and ask questions on that. We chose to go this route because we don't just want to have an open dialogue where you ask a question or two here at the conference, but we want you to really connect with these experts, understand them, and have the opportunity to kind of continue that dialogue as you go on your respective journeys back into your home markets. So, with that being said, let's kick the conference off. Let's give a big round of applause for Guy Valkenborg, the CEO of CEPI.
Well, good morning all. Somebody has to start, and thank you, the organizers, for choosing me. So welcome to Milano. Some of you, I know you were here a couple of days before, as I was. I thoroughly enjoyed the city, and I'm looking forward to our work over the next 2 days. We are looking forward, as CEPI, the European Federation of Real Estate Professionals, 2 days of learning and listening, because as you know, MLS in Europe is still a bit of a challenge. We don't really have a base plan yet as far as MLS systems is concerned, but we are aware that MLS systems should be looked at in detail. It's also the reason why we decided after the first international MLS forum last year to create a dedicated think tank within CEPI to make up our minds and come out with a kind of united CEPI position on the future of MLS. We're also happy to tell you that in our two-yearly update on the regulatory situation of our professions in Europe, we've dedicated a whole section on the kind of challenges you will encounter in Europe when thinking of introducing MLS systems. So also there, we thank the contributors for being able to spread the good word amongst the markets in Europe. 2024 and 2025 will be a very important year for CEPI. 2025, the 1st of January, is the date where for the first time ever Europe will issue a European quality stamp for real estate professionals. It's called MMCEPI. It is going to be distributed and only able to be distributed by the currently 34 national organizations which are grouped together in CEPI. And it makes us very proud to say today that all of our national associations engaged in this exercise. And again, we will do a lot to improve the quality and the reputation of our professionals, as this conference is doing, obviously. I think I will leave it to those opening words because I know you've got a lot of speakers. I don't want to say too much about the CEPI ideas on MLS because you've got distinguished CEPI speakers in the rest of the program, and they've asked me specifically not to spoil any of their surprises. So well done, Guy, I would say on this. Anybody who's got has got questions or wants to enter into further detail, I'd be very happy to speak to you because I'll be around the next couple of days. But I'll also now and then be absent because we are preparing our general meeting, which will happen on Wednesday of this week, also here in Milan. So in that sense, there's a lot of work, guys. So let's get started. And thank you again for your presence. Thank you.
Signore e signori, buongiorno e benvenuti al Forum Internazionale MLS, qui nella bellissima città di Milano. È davvero un onore essere davanti a voi oggi mentre ci riuniamo per discutere e dare forma al futuro del nostro settore. Io mi chiamo Giovanni DiMichele e sono entusiasta di accogliere i miei colleghi del settore e ospiti illustri in questo importante forum. Come figlio di un immigrato in Canada è un profondo onore trovarmi davanti a voi oggi nel paese in cui sono nato e avere l'opportunità di fornire il mio benvenuto. Vorrei iniziare ringraziando i nostri ospiti, l'Associazione Europea dei Professionisti Immobiliari e RESO, Organizzazione degli Standard Immobiliari. E soprattutto Ali Attar, il suo squadra per tutto il lavoro duro nel rendere possibile questo entusiastamente evento. Vorrei inoltre dare il benvenuto a tutti i partecipanti qui oggi che sono venuti da vari paesi per essere con noi. Now I'm going to do it much more comfortably. Good morning and welcome to the International MLS Forum here in the beautiful city of Milan. My name is John DiMichele, and I'm excited to welcome my fellow industry leaders and distinguished guests to this important forum. As a son of an Italian immigrant in Canada, it is a profound honor to stand before you here today in the country where I was born and to be given the opportunity to provide the welcome remarks. I would like to start by thanking our host, the European Association of Real Estate Professions, and RESO, the Real Estate Standards Organization, and especially to Ali Attar for his team and all their hard work and efforts in making this exciting event possible. I would also like to welcome all the attendees here today that have joined from various countries to be with us. As we begin this conference, I would like to take a moment to reflect on the significance of this gathering. The landscape of our industry is constantly evolving, and it's through meetings like this that we can collectively work for the advancement of the profession. In this room, many facets of the real estate ecosystem are represented. From real estate professionals, technology organizations, to financial institutions, trade associations, and government bodies. Each of us brings unique insights and expertise, yet we are united by a common purpose, and that is to elevate our industry. We are better when we come together. Our collective knowledge, passion, creativity, and experience in the industry is extraordinary. It is the willingness to share ideas that has created an important foundational element of this industry. With that in mind, we have to acknowledge that participation is the main principle and the fuel that allows an MLS to function. I have always been a strong supporter of MLS. I was a realtor and a broker, and I believe that the MLS is a critical component of the real estate transaction. It is a single source of truth and provides for accurate and timely information and transparency. And this is the engine that powers the real estate industry. Through this system, the cooperation and the cooperator itself flourishes, and it allows the professionals to provide the property buyers and sellers with access to factual and timely information so they can proceed with confidence in order to achieve their dreams and goals. The MLS provides the opportunity for efficiencies and clarity in a complex transaction path, from the beginning of the search and through to the completion of the transaction. This is elevated by the transparency that the MLS provides to these professionals who deliver the knowledge, services, and guidance, and through these professionals to the consumers they serve. Do I just hit the... This was where I was born. As I mentioned earlier, I'm from a very tiny signal tower town, right, if you can see, in the middle of this country. This is the tower. It's a medieval tower. It was the signal tower to the castle in Celano. The name of this town is Sandagiona. We call it Sandaiona. And it was a peasant town in the province of L'Aquila in Abruzzo. So yes, I'm Abruzzese. I lived there before we moved for 8 months. And my parents immigrated to Canada. I was born in this tiny little town, in this very house. Oh, it doesn't show, but it's in the green. These row houses were originally barracks built for the people who were left homeless after the Avezzano earthquake. My grandmother, Giovanna, was trapped under the rubble next to her dead mother and baby sister for 3 days after the earthquake, and she survived. She was 3 years old. Later in life, she met and married my grandfather, Giovanni DiMichele. And as you know, I'm the namesake, Giovanni. Later in life, she met and married Giovanni and had 2 sons. A few years later, my grandfather died tragically at a very young age as a mercenary in the Spanish Revolution. This was her house. This was her home. This was her castle. This is where she raised her 2 children through famines, wars, 1 world war, and oppression. This house was her castle, as I said, and she loved her home and kept it immaculately. A few years ago, my parents were faced with a variety of challenges in trying to keep it. In the end, due to circumstances that we could not control, we were faced with very few options. Despite all our efforts to try and protect my grandmother's legacy, we had no choice but to try and sell it. We learned quickly that there was no source of information that we could rely on or refer to. There was no way for any of us to get real evidence on pricing or navigate the process. It became very difficult, and finally, through some friends, we just said, okay, we just got to get out of this. And we hope for the best. While there are some listings on portables available, on the portals, there is nothing that would help a seller or buyer feel confident in their purchase or sale. Sadly, the experience was complicated and disappointing. And every one of the listings on those portals, by the way, says, call Marcello. I don't know who Marcello is, but he must be the top agent in all of Europe, because everything says Marcello. We learned very sadly through this experience how bad it really was for a buyer or seller. Unless you're being guided from a true professional, you're still not going to get the information you need, and this is where the MLS really can flourish. So whether you're buying or selling or renting, the parties can rest assured that they are provided with the most accurate, timely data and information that will help them make an informed decision based on facts. Combined with the knowledge provided by the real estate professional, this will afford consumers the peace of mind they want when making one of the most important decisions of their lives. Over the next few days, we will hear from some very knowledgeable and experienced subject matter experts. They will provide us with their insights and thoughts as to how the MLS is evolving, how technology is advancing their critical service. And I'll leave you with this thought. The next evolution of technology, including MLS, will be fueled by AI. And this will be exciting as we will see things that we could only dream of before. AI will allow for faster and better code generation, which works in 3 different ways. A developer can just start typing code and AI will try to autocomplete it. A developer can write a comment in natural language and AI will generate a suggested code based on what the developer wants to accomplish. A developer can chat directly with AI and ask it to write something specific or fix or test the code that was written. Things will be moving much faster. Not just in our space, but everywhere, but primarily think about it in terms of how the portals may be doing their business. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But a professional will need a foundation of truth, timely, accurate sales data in order to counsel the people they're working with. So take a moment now and imagine what the MLS could look like here in the next few years. And let's try to make that happen. Once again, thank you for having me here, and I look forward to meeting all of you and enjoying the amazing lineup of speakers over the next few days. Mille grazie e buona conferenza.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. John, what's an impressive speech, and I really enjoyed it. Probably just to do an introduction for myself and my organization. Probably not all of you heard of before. ADRES is an organization has established in 2021 in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. And the reason that organization is established is according to a government vision, basically to proceed with the digital transformation and build an ecosystem in the real estate for the Emirates of Abu Dhabi, for the Emirates of the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. So the fact that, to let you know, we are not experts in MLS yet. So we came here and we started the journey of MLS, I would say, less than a year ago. We do in Abu Dhabi and UAE in general, famous with listing websites, brokers, real estate professionals, but again, the aim was to overcome a challenge, which is probably that's one of the challenges that most of you in your countries have about transparency, accuracy of data, and the collaborations between agents, owners, brokers, sellers, and purchasers. So I was not prepared for the speech, to be honest. I was thinking that Ali Reza would just put me in a panel, but yeah. So speaking to you from from my heart, and I really thank you, Ali Attar and Ali Reza, for bringing us here to meet the experts in this field, to learn from you, and to talk about initiatives that we would love to have it implemented in the back home. As you may know, United Arab Emirates is one of the fastest growing countries in the whole world. And speaking of which, real estate was one of the biggest elements in the United Arab Emirates growth, starting with the longest and biggest tower in the world, Burj Khalifa, talks about the wonderful islands that were built out of nowhere, speaks about the the amount of residential supplies happened over a couple of decades. So all that rapid growth has happened so quick. So the idea behind it is we need to keep up with that growth. So one of the important elements is how real estate professionals talks to that growth, how they align to that growth. So the government has put some initiatives. ADRES, where I head, is one of them. MLS is one of them. And I'm happy to announce that Abu Dhabi will be officially led by the Abu Dhabi Real Estate Center, which is the government arm of the real estate in Abu Dhabi, to announce that they will be publishing probably a government-led MLS, which is probably unique by its position, where MLS is normally not being government-led. But hopefully we come together and see how we can collaborate on that. Again, thank you. Thanks for the hosts. Thanks for everyone. I'm looking forward to meet all of you and talk to you, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Milano. So excited to be here. Welcome, another welcome to the second annual International MLS Forum. I'm Mary Jo Cowen. I'm the CEO of Stellar MLS and our subsidiary, Universal Consulting Opportunities. And we are so honored to be here and to be one of the title sponsor for this event. We came last year to Paris, kind of a little wet behind the ears. Not that we're not still a little wet behind the ears in learning your market, but we came to learn. And we had an absolutely amazing experience in Paris, getting to know many of you, getting to build some partnerships. We are a knowledge partner of CEPI. As a result of attending there, we've met with many of you in this room, traveled to many countries with our team. They're all here today, Mary and Matthew, Shane, Kelly, we're all, and Jennifer, all of us here today to continue our journey with you and to continue learning. So you might wonder, why is Stellar MLS here? Why are we here? We're here because we have seen and we have a vision, and our vision is to help bring whatever version of the MLS works in your country or your province or wherever you might be, to bring it globally, because I kind of wish, that I could have just stood next to John when he was up here and just said, yeah, what he said, everything that he said, because that's what we see as a vision for all that we can help bring to all of you here in this countries, all of your countries at this. Honestly, I'm just so excited. I just can't even contain myself here. But we have been traveling, we have been meeting. And I want to thank all of you that we have met with, because we have learned so much in the last year about how your markets work, how you service your agents and your brokers, your clients, customers, everything. So but we still have a lot more to learn. And that's another reason why we're here and why we're back this year. So when we started that journey a year ago, we were like, yeah, we're really excited about this. This year I can say to you, Stellar MLS, we are fully committed. We are here to work with you, to help you bring whatever piece of the MLS your way that you're looking at. We're committing to guiding you, to putting together that piece that works in your market. We will succeed when you do. And we listen, and we lead, and we're here for you. So whether it's AI, technology, representation, regulation, market challenges, market conditions, competition, our industry, as John said, is facing unprecedented change. On multiple fronts, it may be different here than it is in the US, than it is in Canada, than it is in any country that you're from, but we know change is here, it's coming, and it's unavoidable. We have to be ready to change, to take our mindset, to move it forward, and only by working together can we really pull this off. One of my favorite mantras, and we use quite often at Stellar MLS, is disruption only happens to the unprepared. And we have thought so much about this in the last year, 2 years in the United States. Lots of disruption has been coming, but we were prepared. We got ready for it, we embraced it, and we stood tall, and we made it through all of that. So let's be the disruptors instead of the disrupted. So the MLS concept, as some of you know, originally came from the brokers getting together saying, hey, maybe we can do a better job for our market if we share. If we share our data, maybe we'll know more about the market. We can help buyers and sellers a little bit more. Back in those days, over 100 years ago, I think sat around and had coffee and shared information about their listings. And then there were MLS books, and then there was the internet, and here we are today. But from that very first moment, the key concept is still there. Let's get together, let's work together, let's build profitability for our brokerages, let's serve buyers and sellers in a transparent way. One of the advantages that I see for all of you who are just starting on this journey is you don't have to learn all the lessons that we've had to learn. You get to start from today, and you get to build without having to go through a lot of the challenges that many of us and many of my peers here in the audience have gone through. So that's what Stellar's here for. We want to help you take that step so that you don't have to learn through the tough lessons and you can move forward, because that is still the core benefit of the MLS, a marketplace of cooperation, a marketplace of transparency. What brokers are looking for, of course, more profitability, buyers and sellers, more ease of finding that property or selling that property, to John's example. And all of this, happier consumers have more money, everybody's happy. So associations, MLSs, our technology partners that are here, brokers, agents, we all have an important role to play in creating the trust in our profession, trust of the consumers, trust of our agents and our brokers, and building that confidence through clean and accurate data, through transparent systems. And together, we can all make the market work. So again, let's be the disruptors. Change can be daunting, and it can stop us from fear, stop us from moving forward, even when we know it's going to be worth every bit of that pain once it's done. And it's going to take time to build forward until you have that success of the marketplaces with that great clean data and all of the information that you can share with your buyers and sellers. And that key piece, again, is cooperation, and that's really hard sometimes to embrace, but we know it will be worth it. So have you ever seen one of those TV shows or videos where they say, hey, don't try this at home, not safe. Don't try this at home. We're professionals, we just want you to show what we can do. Don't try this at home. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can try it, and you can do it, and you can have the help of professionals that know some of the ins and outs of helping you put together your MLS and guide you through their journey. So don't be afraid, be bold, step up, start thinking, as Joe was saying, and John was saying, about the future and how it can build in your world. So in closing, I just want to share a quick quote from one of the best leaders that I've ever worked with in my career as my MLS. And he basically says, his quote is like, don't take the easy way out. But what he says is, what is hard becomes easy, and what is easy becomes hard. So don't take the easy way out. Let's get to work, because after all, this room is full of leaders. And what do we do as leaders? Leaders lead. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us, and have a great conference.
Buongiorno, è un piacere essere qua a Milano, una città umana come città di Barcellona. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of the International MLS Forum for inviting me and FIABCI to participate in this great event. For those of you who may not be familiar with FIABCI, the International Real Estate Federation, we are a global business networking organization created in 1951 in Paris for all professionals associated with the real estate industry. This includes architects, developers, constructors, investors, asset and property managers, brokers, and real estate agents, PropTech companies, lawyers, notaries, and other experts. Since its creation shortly after World War II, FIABCI has continuously strived for peace and to build a better world through multidisciplinary exchange, sharing knowledge and best practice on national, regional, and international levels. Present in more than 80 countries with around 50 national and multinational federations, FIABCI has held a roster status since 1971 and since 1996. a special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, of the United Nations. Our annual World Real Estate Congress, Global Leadership Summits, FIABCI World Peace Excellence Awards, and the FIABCI Certified Global Real Estate Professional Designation Program, in cooperation with Oxford University, are just a few of the many values we offer our members worldwide. Today, I would like to talk to you about what has brought us here, the MLSs, their nature, their purpose, and the impact of technology on our operations, as well as offering some ideas on how to improve this cooperation system. I also want to address an issue that is key to global standardization and one that FIABCI has been actively working on: the promotion of global real estate industry standards, particularly those related to MLS and data standardization using the open source RESO standards, the Real Estate Standards Organization. The first issue I would like to talk about is the nature of MLS. We know that MLS are databases shared between state agents that allow to list and access properties centrally. This creates a collaborative environment where we all have access to the same information. Instead of competing for data, we collaborate and cooperate to create more opportunities for both buyers and sellers. My motto is help me sell my portfolio and I'll help you sell yours. The main objective of an MLS should be to democratize access to market information. It allows us to be more efficient, save time, and facilitate that the buying and selling process for our clients. It also promotes transparency, which is essential for a healthy property market. We could sum up by saying that the fundamental values should be trust, transparency, teamwork, innovation, ethics, and professionalism. The second thing I would like to make some comments on is that technology is changing the rules of the game. Thanks to tools such as artificial intelligence, big data, and automation, we can efficiently analyze large amounts of information, anticipate trends, and make more personalized recommendations. Integration with PropTech technologies also allows us to manage clients and properties from anywhere, significantly improving our productivity. To maximize this advance, however, we need to globalize and standardize our systems. This is where FIABCI, CEPI, RESO, and other professional organizations come in. FIABCI has been a strong advocate of promoting global standards in our industry. When we talk about MLS, it is vital that we ask open standards, such as those developed by RESO, which ensure interoperability and efficiency of systems globally. This allows us all, regardless of country or region, to access and share data in a consistent and efficient manner, breaking down the geographical and technological barriers that limit our ability to work together. What does this mean to us? It means that by adopting RESO standards, we can ensure that our MLS platforms are compatible and accessible globally. In addition, standardizing data not only improves efficiency, but also increases transparency and market confidence. If I may, I would like to make a few suggestions for the future of MLS. Interoperability between MLS globally. With standards like RESOs, we can make it easier for real estate agents in different regions and countries to access the same information, creating a truly global marketplace. Blockchains to ensure transparency. By incorporating blockchains into MLS, we can ensure the integrity of transactions, reducing the risk of fraud and error. Encourage greater cooperation and collaboration between agents. FIABCI has always practiced and encouraged collaboration between real estate industry professionals. I propose that we adopt internal communication and coordination platforms to share information in real time and to optimize joint work. In short, we should all together keep leading the way to a future where real estate data is standardized and accessible globally. By adopting these tools and fostering collaboration, we will not only be more efficient, but we will also achieve a more transparent and accessible marketplace. If we can better integrate technology and foster a true culture of cooperation and collaboration among agents, the future of MLS will be bright. Using the MLS brand and seal will strengthen our positioning. We will not stand alone. Thank you for your time. I look forward to discussing how we can improve our operations by working together on a global scale. Enjoy the day. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Most important announcement of the day, the password for the Wi-Fi is global standards. Thank you, Eileen. Mi dispiace, purtroppo non parlo italiano, ma volevo ringraziarvi per il vostro invito. Thank you for having us here. We're very excited to be a part of this event and for you all taking part here in Milano. I'm Sam DeBord with Real Estate Standards Organization. We are an organization with about 700 member organizations, headquartered in about 20 countries. These companies work in over 100 countries around the world. We create the data standards to allow your technology systems to talk to each other. Much like a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi, the standards that we create allow interoperability for data to flow, for information to flow between your technology systems. Not only do we create those standards that your technology uses, we do certification, technical certifications. So on an average MLS system, we run about 1 million tests on 100,000 records to ensure that systems that comply with standards can be certified, so that you get certainty when you purchase technology to ensure it can interoperate. So in Paris, there was one message that really seemed to resonate. And it's really resonated since. And it's that transparent marketplaces move inventory. We're here for business. We're here for commerce. Transactions move the marketplace. And that transparency requires rules. It requires a foundation of rules to ensure that there's trust, whether it's a stock market, whether it's a real estate market. The rules that guide the information at the foundation of the market are there to ensure trust and ensure transactions can turn over. This is what gets us a liquid marketplace. And it's a big deal because it's a big marketplace, because we estimate there's about 30 trillion euros worth of transactions globally on an annual basis that turn over. And there's about 600 trillion euros worth of value in global real estate. So having a liquid market that turns over, that has transparency, builds that marketplace and that transaction flow. And there's really some core concepts to that. Yes, we need the commerce, we need the business, that's the top of the pyramid. But to have that, we need that trusted data, that trusted information that consumers, buyers and sellers can rely on. And at the foundation, to have that trust, we've got to have the rules. We have to have standards. We have to have policies. Sometimes we need to have regulations to ensure we build that information baseline so that the transactions can flow in that marketplace. You know the internet well. The internet is just a bunch of open standards. Its growth, its success, its value to us, we take for granted. But it's just a bunch of open standards. You don't need to know what these things are, but TCP/IP, FTP, HTTP, HTML. These are publicly understood rules that everyone participating in that marketplace understands, knows, and if they can abide by those rules, they can participate in that marketplace, which is a marketplace of standards. And yes, there's a lot of technology. There's a lot of technology involved in the infrastructure, hardware, software, lots of things that are critical infrastructure for the web to work. But that technology doesn't make the data flow on its own. The information doesn't flow just because there's technology. People have to make that decision. Leaders have to make that decision to make information flow through that network. Because the web's really just an idea. It's a story that people told to each other, that we could have an information resource that is an ecosystem that is the rising tide that lifts all boats, that we'd all be better off if we had this cooperative ecosystem. But we couldn't have it without rules. It wouldn't work without open rules that everyone understood so that everyone could participate according to those rules. Probably sounds familiar. Because the MLS is just an idea. It's just a story that people told to each other, that we could have an improved ecosystem of information for our businesses, for our consumers, but only if we had rules, only if we had a foundation of standards so that everyone participating in that system would understand how to contribute and how to consume that information from that market. Now, those are kind of big stories. I want to break it down to something a little smaller. This sort of relates to what we're doing here and the diversity of MLS implementations internationally. That's my dad's truck growing up. It's a 1964 Chevy C10 pickup truck. Yes, it's yellow with a blue door, and we'll get to that. It's a standard-sized truck. My dad was a school teacher. In the summers, he worked construction. And at one point on a job, somebody ran into the side of his truck. He had to replace the door. Well, how did he replace the door? He didn't go build his own door. He didn't go reinvent the wheel. He went to the junkyard. He found a 1964 Chevy C10 truck. Happened to be blue. Replaced the door. Same size bolts. Same size hinges. It worked because it's all he needed. It was a very simple utilitarian work truck. Now, as a kid, I didn't really enjoy that look. I would give him a hard time. Come on, Dad. You've got to paint the truck. I don't want you driving around town with that. But he didn't care. All he wanted was a utilitarian work truck to do the job. Now, on the right is also a 1964 Chevy C10 pickup truck. I know this is a very American-sounding story with gas-guzzling Chevy pickup trucks, but that's the point. This is a different implementation of the same standard. You can add all of these interesting, innovative components because the frame's the same size, the axle's the same size, the bolt patterns are the same size. The standard of that vehicle to make it move is the same. But the implementation's very different. And that's what we see in international markets. Some of you will just look at a straightforward, simple MLS implementation. Some of you will have very different implementations of MLS. It may be government-related. It may be private. It may be a cooperative like the US. The MLS system we have in the US may not fit your marketplace. The data dictionary that we use, you may use different parts of that than they use in Canada. But all of these different implementations will fit the legal, the cultural, the language differences that you have in your marketplaces, but the core will be the same. The core will be a cooperative of open standards, of open rules that make sure the foundation works, that make sure you have trust in that information in your market. Because we know what it looks like when we don't have rules and we don't have standards. You've seen this in many marketplaces, where the same listing shows up 3 times at 3 different prices on the same website. It's probably already sold. It may have never been a valid listing in the beginning. And this is not just a bad consumer experience. This is disinformation flowing on the web from real estate companies to consumers. Luckily, you're working on the solution, this incredible information resource that the MLS provides, that with those trusted rules and standards as the baseline of your MLS, you can provide this experience that folks depend on. We don't know who that person is. It could be a buyer, could be a seller, could be a government employee, could be an appraiser, could be an investor. But they're all dependent on that same information resource of the MLS to make better decisions, to make data-driven decisions. So I want to thank you. I want to applaud you for having the vision and the courage to tell that story back in your marketplaces and to bring this information resource to your consumers, to your businesses, and your communities. Thank you.
Okay, what great keynotes those were. One thing that I took away from that is everyone from every country that spoke, every region of the world, we're all kicking around the same ideas. Even in the US, we're having to ask ourselves, what does the MLS look like in the future? And that's why this conference is so exciting, because we can do it in a collaborative way. We can learn from each other. We can help each other. And this is one thing, like I mentioned in the opening remarks, keep that mind state open as we go through this. So with that being said, I have one update to Sam's critical update. The Wi-Fi password is global standards, but it's capital G, capital S, all one word. So if you're having issues, that's why. Okay, so moving on here, we're going to introduce our first panel of the day. This was a very intentional panel. While we're talking about technical standards at this conference so far, the MLS it only works because it's a very, very unique culture. All of the participants in it come together with the same understanding and the same idea. So with that, we have an incredible panel of experts coming up. I'm going to introduce the moderator, John Heithaus. John, please come on up and bring your panel up.
Buongiorno. My name is John Heithaus. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, representing my company called Ocusell, which we'll hopefully get a chance to visit with people about. But first of all, I'd like to thank everyone, starting with Sam DeBord and the excellent team, the multinational team that was pulled together for this conference. I've been doing this business since, I'm showing my age, but since 1980. I'm a third-generation real estate kid from New York. Hi, John. My family was in the real estate business for nearly 100 years. I've sat at closings, done open houses, had deals fall out at the last minute, had illegal mobsters try to buy houses from me. I've been it all. I've done it. And here I am in Milan, Italy, among some of the brightest minds in our business. So I do want to give a hearty thank you to the organizers for this event. You know, as I was preparing for this and walking through Heathrow, I noticed how every single person had a suitcase with a wheel on it. And I thought about how many years back, before that really became a prevalent invention, when we're walking around with holding suitcases, strapping Hartman bags over our shoulders, and how incredibly inefficient. Compare that to the MLS today, which is indeed the envy of the world, the American MLS, because data has wheels. It moves everywhere it's needed, on demand. And without that, it would be mayhem. It would be just back to the old days of lugging things around manually. And at the end of the day, the reason the MLS is so important to the world is housing is a basic human right of every single demographic, of any single person in the world. And the MLS does an incredible job of facilitating that with not only accurate and timely data, but with accountability and with organization. And behind that, of course, is the culture of any organization that's involved with it. As I mentioned, my grandfathers were in the business, and I actually I was on the 8-year amended plan for my undergraduate degree, meaning I took a little break off to try to become a professional musician. And one of my grandfathers, after kind of realized that this really wasn't a gainful occupation, I said, well, what do you suggest I do? And he said, well, John, people need a place to live. They're always going to need your help because they always need a place to live. And throughout my entire life and my entire career, that voice is always stuck in my head about how important it is to help people find a place to live. in addition to my business here, I'll give a quick bio before I introduce the rest of the panel. I did about 30 years hard time working for a company used to be called Realogy. It's now called Anywhere. I was an executive in their corporate relocation division, managing our supply chain in 60 countries. So when people moved anywhere around the world for their employer, my company assisted it. And I had a great insight into cultures and different real estate cultures, and comparing how long it takes a house to sell in Portugal as it does in Paramus, New Jersey, and all the big differences. And it was a phenomenal graduate school education for me in how important real estate data is. I then was fortunate enough to be recruited by a fellow named David Sharon, whom you may know. If you don't, you got to look him up. Charron is how you spell his last name. David is what the young kids call the OG, the original guy in a modern MLS. He was the best boss I ever had. He's a mentor to me. He's a mentor to many folks here in this room. And if you don't know him, I'd recommend you look David up. He's still banging around doing conferences and consulting. But he really taught me how a properly run MLS functions and how attentive it is to its stakeholders and how they never lose sight of the fact that there's a consumer on the other end of that professional that has needs. And that indeed was a graduate school education for me. I was lucky enough to retire from that and go to Nashville to be in the music business. So I now run a record label called Qualified Records. We've got 3 songs on the ballot for a Grammy, which is voting right now. So if anybody knows any musicians or has a friend or an aunt or an uncle or a kid, please vote for us for Qualified Records for my artists. And the reason I mention that is not as much to talk about music, but to talk about the parallels between music and real estate. Would you move the slides ahead, please? That's not the slide. Well, okay, we're done. I'm a fast-talking American, but not that fast. I guess we don't have the rest of the slides, so I'm just going to wing it. So the idea is that in the music business, and I'm using the Rolling Stones as my example here, both culture is so important to the quality of music. First of all, bands need to have a shared vision. Imagine the Rolling Stones without Mick Jagger and Keith Richards having a shared vision for what their output was. It creates a mission, and when you're leading an organization, you need to make sure that your culture shares a shared mission. The next part is collaboration. Professionally, I'm a bass player, and when's the last time you saw a bass player take a solo? Unless it's Sting or some exceptional, and there are some, Jaco Pastorius, for instance, who obviously can do it, but 99% of the time, the job of the bass player is to collaborate to create a foundation for the lead singer or for the keyboardist or the guitarist to do their thing. And if we don't collaborate well, that person can't excel at what they do. So in terms of culture, collaboration is very important. Creativity. Bands need to stay fresh, and they can't do the same thing. Even though they have a formula and a recipe, they got to do better than that. Look at the Rolling Stones, how many times they've reinvented themselves. They even did a disco song, which is one of my favorite, of course, but only because there's a tiny little bass solo that Bill Wyman has in the middle of it. But collaboration is so very important. Creativity. Organizations need to maintain creativity. Listen to your customers. First thing we do when the band creates a set list is we find out what songs they want and we give them more of it. And that's creativity, to construct an outcome that's pleasing to your audience. Well, cultural management is the same thing. Communication is critically important. Open dialogue and feedback shape both the music and business culture. And without communicating, and by the way, we need both verbal and nonverbal communication. And lastly, you need resilience. I saw the Rolling Stones when they came to Nashville 2 years ago. These guys are in their 80s. And Mick Jagger owned a 65,000-person arena in the palm of his hand at like 82 years old. So just a few parallels in the music business and how it pertains to culture. I am very lucky today, as you all are, that we've got a group of rock stars here to come and discuss our panel on MLS culture. I'm going to introduce everybody. I didn't know where they were sitting, so I'm going to go backwards here. Mary Jo is the Chief Executive Officer at Stellar MLS. Not only are they the third largest MLS in the country, but they're the largest MLS in Florida and Puerto Rico. Her leadership has brought the only MLS that has an international liaison crew. That's called putting your money where your mouth is. Her company, for the last 3 years, was named Best Place to Work in Florida, which is a highly competitive thing. In the music business, she's kind of the Reba McEntire of the MLS business.
I like that. She's cuter than me, though.
And I think that's great. So please welcome Mary Jo.
Thanks, everybody.
Eileen O'Driscoll is a very competent and credentialed realtor based in New Jersey, but she's also an advisory member of the Western Europe MLS. She is here today because she is an expert on working with buyers and sellers of all cultures, and she knows how to transpose that. So please welcome Eileen.
Thank you.
My new friend Sanja has a resume about 14 pages long, and I had to cut it down. But rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of our sterling rock stars. She's a co-founder and president of the European Association of Home Staging Professionals. She's an interior designer. She launched her own home staging business. She created the first Italian real estate firm that staged every single listing, which we all know back in the music business, the presentation layer is the most important thing that you do. First impressions matter, and staging is an incredible part of it. She's also a TV host. She's been on the radio for Casa Italia Radio, and she's an exceptional human being on top of that. Please welcome Sanja. Last but not least is we need to have an outstanding real estate professional on our panel. Audra Fontanella is from New Jersey. In addition to many years in the real estate business as a top-selling RE/MAX agent. Anybody knows the RE/MAX model? It's a highly competitive, very different model, and when you excel to the top of that class, you are indeed an excellent professional. She's got a ton of certifications. In addition, she was a director and a president of the New Jersey MLS. So we've got an interesting professional here who not only has street credibility with buying and selling houses, but has also lived that lion's den of an MLS board of directors, which I assure you is, John knows this, is an interesting place to be. Please welcome Audra. So our first question for the panel is, how can leaders effectively align company culture with business goals while fostering a sense of belonging and purpose among staff? I'm going to ask Mary Jo to lead us off. So how can you align company culture? And I know she can handle the first curveball because she's good at this. So.
Thank you. Well, I think that there's you said it earlier, it's about all of the constituents that you have in your company. The culture has to stretch from the volunteers to the board of directors, to the staff, to the executive team. You have to be one team. And you have to be very intentional about building a culture where everybody feels included, everyone feels heard, we spend a lot of time doing that. And thank you for the recognition of the award that we just received for one more year. So we're very proud to be one of the top employers in Orlando. We do take very good care of our staff because we realize that our team, they're the foundation. Just like when you build a home, you have to have that solid foundation. And to have a solid foundation, your team needs to know that you care and that you value their input regardless of what team they're on. So we have a very, very collaborative culture within our staff team. But we also take that to the next level with, for example, with our executive committee, our volunteer executive committee, our executive team on the staff. We are all together in an executive committee meeting so that everybody gets to be heard. All the great questions can be asked so that everybody's informed and gives that confidence to lead to our leaders as they go into our board meeting. We also build a great culture with our directors to make sure that they know how much we appreciate them and how valued they are. We take extra steps to encourage them to dive into the MLS world, because I'm sure for you guys as well, a lot of the directors that we have come onto our board as an MLS director have served as a local association executive, or director, a president or a director. And the world of the MLS is a completely different animal than a realtor association or a real estate association. That it's more business focused, it's more technology focused, and so we spend an inordinate amount of time making sure that our directors, our volunteer leaders are immersed in the MLS world as well. So it just builds on itself, so top to bottom, full circle, everyone.
And it's important to demarcate the difference between a culture between your volunteer staff and your professional staff. And there's different motivations, and how masterfully you manage that is a testament to the organization.
We are one team,
You bet.
completely one team.
Way cool. Audra, how about New Jersey? Tell me about your perspective on culture.
So the culture over at New Jersey MLS is extremely collaborative. All of our directors are volunteers. They are non-staff. We have our AE, who is an extremely strong individual, and in the MLS world, she was trained and brought up through the ranks through our MLS, and she's been with the organization, I believe, almost 20 or 25 years at this point. But she has a very strong sense and core values, and she's extremely, extremely knowledgeable. So she lays the groundwork and the baselines. However, the directors really take the role of listening to what the membership needs and wants and desires are and what the next steps need to be, while blending them with the values and the core policies that our AE has, laid forth. But it is, between staff and directors, an extremely agent-centric model in the sense that we listen to the membership. The whole goal is, what does the membership need? And we service over 16,000 realtor members in our MLS, and it's a very diverse group of people as well. So there's the technology side, there's the traditional side, there's the what's the up-and-coming side. And it's tricky sometimes to blend that, but we get together, and there's 15 people on the board of directors, which can be a lot of people to manage in one room during a meeting. But we listen to each other, we listen to everybody's opinions. It's a non-judgmental scenario, and it's always about making the system and the functionality better for the membership.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sanja, let's talk about a culture of creatives in the staging business and how professionally and then within in the
Sure.
group.
So it's a culture within the different cultural aspects, because guiding and leading a nonprofit association that has only 6 years of life, being a nonprofit, we're all volunteers, so it's not managing staff. You need to foster a very collaborative and very safe environment where people donate actually at all the times their efforts and their time, their talents to serve the association. And comparing the markets, we spoke about Florida and New Jersey. Let's not forget, for us, geographically speaking, 50 countries within Europe. We have cultural differences within the organization itself. And then you have the differences between markets, because the way real estate is sold in Cyprus is completely different than, for example, in Sweden, besides the principles. And when it comes to home staging, it always has the same mission and vision, making sure that we do collaborate not only among us, professionals and members, but that we collaborate with real estate agents, brokers, investors, associations, and of course, any entity that will help us divulge the word about home staging. Because, John, could you answer my question? When was invented home staging? 1972. We still had the Cold War going on at that time. So it's very important for us to have the supportive environment from the institutions and associations, and of course, helping us with the mission and the vision, which is to get that credibility that we still don't have as an industry.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially the aspect of the creative business and how that overlays the music business is that way too. Well, Eileen is an expert in working with people of different cultures to buy and sell houses, and I was wondering if you could share with us what kind of radar you have to kind of get a feeling for who your customer is, where they're from, and how you can tailor your service to their needs.
No, absolutely, and thank you for that. You know, you even mentioned it. You know, it's everybody's basic right to have a roof over their head, you know, and when you break it down, different countries, different cultures have different standards or different ways of doing things, but it comes down, everybody has a basic need to have a roof over their head. And, you know, putting together an organization to get that done, I think it begins originally with the why. Why do we need it? And once you have that, then I think you can definitely build on it. And keeping an eye on making sure that everybody's need is taken care of within that building of that organization. But with the correct why and the right people in the, you know, you can definitely build and you can grow from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I imagine you deal with people on job-related transfers coming into New Jersey from different countries.
Yes, absolutely. And then, you know, you have to sit and what are they looking for? You know, it will maybe incorporate, you know, where their favorite grocery store is, where their, you know, place of worship is, and, you know, identifying that and identifying what's of value to them. You know, is it just, you know, access to their job? Is it more of a community? And managing that, and, you know, being able to find that and put that together definitely is what's needed.
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'd like to follow up, Audra, with you with regard to communication, and you mentioned how hard you listen to your stakeholders. What methods and approaches do you find are successful and helpful in the open and candid communication for culture?
Sure. So from the MLS perspective, the staff at the MLS is firstly and prioritatively trained to be attentive to the membership. So they have open chat sessions where they can easily get in touch with anyone from support 24/7. And we hold multiple times a year, there's training sessions, webinars, things like that. And, you know, we do an annual membership event as well, where we want the staff to be able to meet the membership and the membership to be able to meet and identify with the staff. So there's a very open line of communication where they feel super comfortable in calling anyone at the MLS for questions, for answers, for assistance, for those types of things. An important note is that a lot of the staff at New Jersey MLS have been with the organization for over 10 years. And it's a testament to how well the organization is run and how comfortable and happy they are, but it has also allowed them to establish relationships with the Realtor members, and the Realtor members are very comfortable with them. And that creates a very open line of, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, I saw that going on. Or, how do I manage this? Or is it a technical issue? Is it more of a conceptual issue? Whatever it is, we want the membership to really feel that they have the ability to call and ask those questions and get the assistance they need when they need it. So,
you know, the tenure and longevity, that's just a great example for how nonverbal and verbal communication works. And the same thing with a band. With musicians that have been playing together for a long time, you can kind of give a little eye over to the side to somebody and like, okay, I'll back off a little bit, or yeah, go ahead, you're on to something, you know. And so that, I think that's an important part with the tenure. Mary Jo, how about in your world? Tell us about that.
Well, I would say what we consider ourselves at Stellar, for the elevator speech, is Stellar is a technology-backed service organization, and we're very focused on our agents, our brokers. We have a 6 days a week support center. We have a full marketing team to get our messages out. We're all over social media. We have special counsels because we have 84,000 subscribers. So it's a little bit more difficult for us to be face-to-face with all of our customers. But we have a very robust communication plan, everything that we do. We have the MLS, when you enter our system, we have a dashboard that everyone comes into as their starting point with the news and with all of their favorite places to go. We have multiple ways to communicate with our agents. And communication is probably the most important thing. and to hear the voice of the customers, of the members. We call our members our customers. We have several, we've had, because we're so large, we also have embarked on, we have a broker council where we have some of our top brokers in our area that meet on a regular basis to bring feedback forward. We have what we call an MLS Advisory Council, which is made up of members of we are a shareholder-owned Realtor MLS, so we have 18 shareholders. And our MLS Advisory Council is made up of representatives from those that can go back to their association, get feedback from their members, and bring those forward. We have a commercial council. We have spent time with our property managers. We try to find and focus in on each of the niches in our business so that we can hear their voices. But yeah, we're definitely out there. During the recent challenges of the NAR settlement, we put up a special web page. We kept it going. We had over 50,000 visits to that page, downloading things, information. So we just put it out there for them, newsletters, the whole thing. So they're probably sick of hearing of us.
That's a pretty good
but
list of
we
stuff.
have to reach them all. It's difficult. We do our
It is.
best.
Retention or adoption and action. Sanja, let's talk about different groups that you work with, because you've got people from all over Europe. So what communication tools do you find effective for your association?
The best communication tools is always one-on-one for us. Even having hundreds of members coming from 26 different nationalities. And speaking about culture, it's also might be a matter sometimes of language barriers. Because although our official language is English, we have a good 25% of the membership base that does not fluently speak or understand English. And I'm very grateful and thankful for the rest of the leadership and the rest of the board who is here today with me for tremendous support, because what we do is we tailor-make everything from networking opportunities to educational sessions. We're listening to their needs, not only one-on-one, but we tailor them to fit what is the necessity of that specific country. And then the communication then is brought down to them, and support, of course, in their own language.
Very cool.
Kind of tough.
Yeah,
but yeah.
A mixed bag, but necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Eileen, as a realtor, what kind of communications from MLSs do you find most valuable, aside from kind of status updates?
Yeah, wanting to be involved and stay informed, and I actually was president of our New Jersey MLS before Audra, and I also served on our board association. But getting back to the culture and the mindset, for me personally, I have pocketed into three. There's the working practitioner, the broker that's collecting the data on the street and speaking to the client. Then there's the administrative staff, and then there's the technology part. Now, where technology is concerned, it's up here, but I'm about here. I understand why, I understand what it does. I don't understand the full algorithms and what Sam was talking about earlier, but I do recognize the needs. So what the data standards is doing has to trickle down to the consumer on the street or the practitioner on the street, because the client needs to buy a house, they need to find the information, it needs to be available. Last year I talked about, my son purchased a house overseas, and as a realtor and as his mother, I wanted to be able to help him, but the access to the data was very limited.
Right.
So having easy access to that would help the process as well. So it's looking to, as culture and everybody communicating together, I believe that, there's a certain mindset with the realtor, there's a certain mindset with the staff, there's a certain mindset with the technology person. So this is why this is excellent, because I believe it's bringing everybody together. Because if you send one faction of those folks into a room, they're not going to be able to get to the end product. Mm-hmm. But you bring everybody together and look at what everybody's looking for and find out the why and find out the needs, and then be able to bring it together. You've got a winning formula.
Could I add something to that? Just
Please.
quickly, as you were speaking, I was thinking about the culturally, maybe not different countries, but when you have, we have like 12,000 brokers in our footprint, and they're like, and they're kind of, they each have their own culture. They have their own world, they have their own goals, they have their own desires, and so trying to balance that culturally as well, so that they're heard, because they each are within their own, just like what you were talking about, just kind of clicked in my brain. We have, at the MLS, we have all of the different brokers with all of their different cultures, all of their different, and we have to kind of fit all of that in to our footprint, although we can't serve everyone's needs, but we definitely listen. That's one of our things we want to hear. We listen carefully.
So when you bring feelings and tech together, you have to be able to manage that.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes it does not. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every business suffers from that.
Huh.
At Ocusell, we use something called Slack. If you're not familiar with it, it's an internal communication tool that's kind of like a text chain on steroids, where you can attach all kinds of documents to it. And I find the Slack tool, and I'm clearly one of the more senior people in the office, so it's a generational thing. But the ability for the company to have a consistent stream of communication. We even do things like celebrating anniversaries and birthdays and company milestones, get communicated with through that. And then, of course, people can attach comments. You can attach video and audio to it to enhance the communication. And I found that to be a really powerful cultural tool to kind of keep everybody on the same page and allow everybody to feel like they have a voice. Because that's one of the key elements in my professional experience. People that are empowered, that feel like they've got I had a graduate school professor who said people support what they build. And it seems like a very basic level type of thing, but it's really, really true about humans. When we're bought into something, when we feel like we have so-called skin in the game, our level of commitment is that much greater, and that's how cultures get built. And to our next question, not only built, but also maintained over time. So what I'd like to do is ask our leaders here to talk about, once you have a culture established that works, how do you ensure that these values are continually reinforced and reminded? I'm going to start with you, young lady, again.
No problem. Well, I think that, again, as I said earlier, it's very intentional, what we lay out and how we bring everyone forward into the culture that we have created. We have our own values and core values and value statements within our organization, but they're the same values that we share with our board of directors. And everything that we do kind of fits along those with our, again, back to our creating that culture within our board of directors. It's constantly there. We talk about every time we strategically, does this fit into our goals? They're big goals. Like, we listen. We succeed when our brokers do. We're leaders. We're here to listen and learn. But it's just a constant thing. You can't build it and then walk away, because it will just disintegrate. Right. And that what you're saying is so true. Every single person, from the person in IT to the person in accounting to the executive leadership team to our volunteer leadership to our board of directors. We also have, as I said, shareholders or association executives that we work with and their presidents. It's a big ecosystem that you have to really pay attention to. And so it's just a constant thing. We do our very best. When we do our strategic planning every year, we invite our directors, we invite key brokers, we invite our association executives, we invite their presidents and their presidents-elect, so that we can build this foundation of everyone kind of knowing the direction that we're going in. Every year, our directors sign off on our, as a reminder of our values and our culture and how we come together as a board. We have operating principles even for our board of directors, and they're just amazing people. We have 26 on our board of directors.
Wow.
And it sounds large, but it's just so effective, because they're all from different shareholders, but they come together because of all the efforts and the training that we've put in as an MLS board, and they leave their association hats behind and make really good decisions. But all I can say is it's intentional. Right. And we have tons of things that we do, but it's just, you can't function without that collaboration. And just, I wanted to say this earlier, but just in our executive team of 6, we have over 100 years of experience. If you add our next level of managers, we're probably 150, 175 years.
Awesome.
So we have a lot of longevity. We have very great mixed diversity in our company, and you just show each other respect from every place, and it just succeeds. But you can't let it go. You got to stay on top of it.
The word intentional is so important. It's care and feeding of your culture. You know, it's not something that the expression set it and forget it. It's not that type of thing. Eileen, please.
Yeah, and I want to say yes, and you talked about intentional. You know, as Audra said, Michelle Perino, our current CEO or AE, she grew up in essence in the company, but her predecessor, Tina Griffin, you know, I spoke with her recently, and you know, like, how did you really start the MLS, and you know, and why? And it was 15 brokers that came together. And they had a need, they had a want, and they said, let's do this, let's share information, rather than me have to drive to your office and find out, you know, what property is on the market, and if you will, cooperate with me. And as you know, in the US, the MLS started with compensation and cooperation. The compensation part now has been removed from that, but the cooperation is still
Excellent
needed.
point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, last night I was speaking with Ali about you know, that I've had a lot of people come to me and talk to about, I have a portal and I would like to make it an MLS, you know, and can I do that? And we talked about, will it sustain or not? So then it comes back to who wants it, why do they want it, are they willing to stick it through? And that's really what's needed. You know, you need that glue to keep it going, because as you said, Mary Jo, you can't start something and then just let it be. You've got to have those board meetings and those weekly meetings and those follow-up and that constant buy-in, because otherwise everybody will just go off in their own, you know, direction. Yep.
It's not a good idea to go off in their own direction. I'd vote against that. Sanja, how about you're in a kind of an inverse mode, since you're in a youthful industry, not 140 years old like the MLS is. How do you create, using your culture, how do you create an awareness for the viability of your association and make people say, hey, this is important and I need to be part of it?
It's really hard for us. We don't sell bread on a daily basis, so people have a daily necessity. Home staging is a marketing tool that has to be included within the services. It really helps accelerate the sale. Thanks to our strategic partnerships with CEPI and being direct member of FIABCI, this is how we do our best together with them in a very collaborative, of course, environment to raise awareness about who we are, what do we do, and how can we collaborate furthermore, and most importantly with real estate agents and brokers, franchisings and associations, in order that, you remember the truck during Sam's presentation? You give us that yellow truck and we make it become a polished red one, and this is what happens with homes that we professionally prepare and enhance. But going also back to your previous question about values, and it's also for us a question of standards. We have a moral obligation to protect our industry because it is not a recognized profession. It's somehow, you don't officially exist. There are no rules of how much can you charge for staging, or general rules, or what home staging actually should be looking like. So we're working on globally defining what are the standards, not only for the wording, home staging, home stagers, but also on the standard practices, because every market is so different. And lastly, a month ago, we have decided, through, of course, strategic planning with the rest of the board and local leaders, that it was time for us to go global. And so the European Association has opened officially our doors to any home staging professional or real estate professional as an associate, because as a leading association worldwide, that was the right move to do.
That's great.
So
I like that a lot.
yeah.
Audra, how about you? Jump in.
So I wanted to actually elaborate a little bit on something Eileen said about you know, what is an MLS versus what is a portal, right? And it incorporates everything that we've been talking about in the sense that an MLS really has to have a good, strong set of rules and policies that lay the groundwork for how everybody operates within that MLS. You need a good, strong AE and a good, strong staff, but your policies and your rules and regulations, in conjunction with what Merri just said, was they are dynamic and they are ever changing. So we continually meet and evaluate, and we've made, and Eileen will tell you this as well because she was on our board of directors and was president prior to myself, that we are constantly looking at those rules and regulations. We tweak them, we make changes, what makes good common sense in today's real estate environment, because that environment's changing constantly as well. But you know, I think that when you're talking about bringing this to a global level, the portals potentially become portals between the MLSs in the sense that the MLSs have those standards in place. And, you know, we as professionals on the real estate side, if we're operating within those MLSs, we're all operating under those same standards, where all of your real estate professionals are abiding by the same rules, the same regulations, and we're able to share data better that way, and we're able to collaborate and cooperate better that way. So potentially your local level is a portal to your state level, is a portal to your country level, is a portal to your global level, but each of those places have a similar set of standards. Without the standards, it would be extremely, extremely chaotic and messy.
I just add to that too. I think there's a significant difference between the portals
Yeah.
and MLS. And for those of us from the United States, that foundation that you're talking about builds the clean data, that transparent data,
Yep.
the RESO standards data, all of those things that make it easier to feed directly to the portals so that the portals have the clean data. And so it's a little bit of a spin on the concept of how things seem to be working here, but that never ever discount the value of that database that the MLS can create as the foundation of the data that can go forward to the portals instead of having the portals creating it on your behalf.
And the historic data that creates is invaluable.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you've got people that in our, you know, in our area, it's common for us to get a phone call from someone who recently may have lost a relative or a parent or something that says, listen, I need to know what the value of the house was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or for whatever reason. So the historical nature of that data is extremely important, as well as the current data that's being there. So the length of the storage of what we put into this MLS needs to be as clean as it can be and as readily available as it can be and stored properly. And there's a lot of moving parts to all of that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I work for an organization that's dedicated to rules management and listing management, and we're very actively involved with the RESO group on standards. And when people say, oh, John, tell me about this job that you have, I said, well, you know what? In 2000, we had the internet revolution, where suddenly the MLS book of yesterday became a little less relevant and everything moved over. Then we got into what they called Web 2.0, Web 3.0, which was personalization that was supposed to change our lives, more miniaturization, you know, bringing things down to the phone level. And then we got to AI and open AI and ChatGPT. That's now revolutionized. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're now in a fourth phase, which has to do with compliance, rules management, and making certain that organizations are not only in touch with industry regulations, but also increasing, at least in the United States, government regulations. And the culture that's involved in that is incredibly important. In fact, in addition to this expert panel, I see at least 3 of my colleagues here, John DiMichele, Rebecca of MRED, and Saul from San Diego, who are also experts in culture. And I encourage everybody here to seek these folks out and ask questions in addition to the panel. And I am excellent at giving bad advice. So you can ask me anytime anything that you need. But without further ado, we're going to do, I had nuns who taught me public speaking where they said, be prepared, be brief, and be seated. We're going to end with just a minute left in our time. Please give my panel your appreciation. And thank you again to Sam and everybody. Enjoy the conference. It was a pleasure to be with you all this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.